So now I've got this nice kind of glowing effect on George. Now, in reality, we have to kind of think about physics and what would actually happen if there was a really strong light beam shining down. We're probably going to have some ambient spill or ambient light up here on this the spaceship. And in order to do that, there's a couple ways we can do. We're gonna do this with a paintbrush, and we're going to choose that green. And I'm going to choose a not that big a brush. So the brush, remember, is the bracket keys right beside the P. The open bracket key makes it smaller, and the closed bracket key makes it bigger. So now if I want to go in and start painting on this spaceship, then I might spill out some color onto the sky, and I don't want to do that. So in order to kind of protect the sky, I need to make a selection around this the spaceship, but that's going to be really tedious going around with a polygon lasso tool or something. So there's another way to select. Either we have the magic wand and we have the polygon lasso tool, but there's another way, and that is to hold control down and click on this thumbnail. Now this, I'm going to double check, make sure that's my layer. I'm going to rename that spaceship. And there's really three different buttons on this layer. There's a button right here for like drop shadows and strokes. That's the layer styles. We can click right here and change the name of the file or the layer, and then or we can click right here in the thumbnail. And that's what I'm going to do. But I'm going to hold control down and click here, and that's going to make an exact selection of whatever happens to be on that layer. And the only thing that happens to be on that layer now is that spaceship. So now that's going to protect the rest of this image and only allow me to modify what's inside the selection. So I'm going to modify my brush a little bit more and change the opacity down quite a bit. I'm just going to kind of dust this a little bit with a little bit of green, so that maybe if there was a strong light source here, it would kind of be spilling out onto the side of these engines. Probably not on the outside, but definitely on the inside. So it's just a subtlety, but I could maybe put a little more of a spot right in the middle here. That's a little brighter. That's where the actual light is emanating from. But those are the little subtleties that kind of really help a composite blend in with each other. So now I hit Control D and deselect, get rid of that. If I zoom back out, probably not a big deal, but I think it just makes it a little bit more realistic when we add that little glow on the outside. Okay, now we can do a variety of other things. I want to talk a little bit more about brushes. And so we go to the brush here, and we've already talked about selecting a brush and changing the hardness, making it fuzzy on the outside or sharp. And there's some brushes here that we really haven't talked too much about, but there's all different kinds of brushes that you might have. The one I want to do here is just I'm going to show you where a bunch of other brushes are, and that is if I click on the little gear here. Now I have a lot of other brushes that you're not going to have because I've already installed them, but one of the brushes that is available to you is assorted brushes. So I'm going to click on assorted brushes, and this is a whole library of other brush tips. Some of them are anywhere between like oil brushes to grunge brushes to just names, all kinds of things. But when I click on one, it's going to say, do I want to replace all these other brushes? If I hit OK, then I'm going to take out all my default brushes and put in the assorted brushes. Or if I hit append, then it's going to add those to it. So I might just want to add it. I don't want to get rid of these right now. So I'm going to have to scroll down to find these new ones. And there's one just that I like to use that is number 51. And I have trouble finding it here. Yeah, probably looking right over it. There it is. It's 50. I'm sorry. And so now I'm going to click off of it, and then I can come back over here and I can modify the size. I'm going to flip my colors here to make it white, and I'm going to make a new layer. So I've always, if I mess up on this layer, I haven't ruined anything on my other layers. And so I can mess around with my opacity, maybe 50%, and click, and I can make a couple little stars, maybe change it to a different size here, and I'm not going to overdo this, and I'm just showing you that there are other kind of brushes. Now this is going to look like kind of a little cheesy project, but I wanted to show you that there are all different kinds of things we can do with different kind of brushes. Now I'm going to make another layer just for fun here, and I'm going to go back to my regular soft brush and change the size here and make it kind of small, and put a few just other little stars here. Now the nice thing about this is I put it on a separate layer, so if you're really disciplined and make things on different layers, then you have a lot more control, because now I can lower the opacity on this layer without affecting my original stars, and I can make kind of some subtleties here. Make another maybe set, maybe change my brush to even smaller, and make the Big Dipper or something. And I can affect, or I can change the opacity there as well. So, so we have the ability to cut things out, bring things in from another file, feather. We can change our brush stroke. Now I'm going to make a real quick laser coming out of a photon torpedo or something, and I'm going to make a new layer, and this is going to be I'll just call it bullet. And I should have probably named these stars, but I'm not going to do that right now for time's sake. And I don't have to really worry too much about making this the right size at the moment, but I'm going to make it about like that, and then fill it with white. Alt backspace and Control D to deselect, and now I'm going to zoom in here so you can see what's going on. So if this is zooming out of here, it's going to have a little bit of a blur, and so if I blur this one, I'm going to I want one end to be kind of sharp. So I'm going to copy this layer. I can either right click and go to duplicate layer, or I can click and drag down into the new layer, and it'll make a copy. So and really this case it doesn't make any difference, but I'm going to select my first layer that I just made. I'm going to go to filter and blur, and I'm sorry, not Gaussian blur, motion blur. And motion blur just blurs in a single direction, so you can see it's going to blur from right to left. And I can change this angle, and you can kind of see what's going on, and you can just make this whatever you want here. You can soften it that way. Now if a laser is not going to necessarily be blurred on both ends, so what I can do is I take my move tool and I can bump it off to the side, so the one end is sharp and the other end is kind of blurring because it's going so quickly. Now I want to move this up here like it's coming out of the spaceship, and I'm going to have to resize it too a little bit. But if I move one, the other layer is not going to go with it, so I hit Control Z. So what I want to do is I want to hold Shift down, select both of those layers right here, and I'm going to go to Layer and merge those layers that I've just selected. Now merge visible means everything that I've got turned on is going to be merged into one layer. I don't want to do that. And flatten image is everything's going to be flattened, and I don't want to do that either. So I'm going to go to merge layers, and so now I only have one bullet layer. Now I can hit Control T, and maybe I might shrink it a little bit, but I still have that nice blur. I can move it, and then I can rotate. If I come out to the edge a little bit, my cursor changes to 2 arrows, and I can turn it around here, and I'm going to kind of think back to my art days where I got perspective, and so I'm going to have a line here going off to a vanishing point of the target of this thing here. So I might put it on out here. It's been shot. I'll zoom out a little bit more, and that's way too big, so I will Control T and shrink it a little bit more. Again, maybe do a little rotation so it looks like it's going in the right direction. And it still probably needs to have a little tweak. Now I've already made one. I can make a second shot, and I'm just going to copy that layer. I can do it with right click and duplicate layer, and now I have one here. But now the way this is constructed, I'm going to have to rotate it to make it look properly in perspective. Really want to line it up for like a invisible axis right down this engine. I could even lay it on top and see what the angle is. And then I can place it on out here. And hit OK for the transformation. Zoom out a little bit, and it looks like they're firing on some land target. Now, if you don't like that, it needs to be a little greener, so that I could drag that one particularly underneath the green laser, and that way it looks a little bit more like it's the light's being distorted a little bit. So that's just a little bit of compositing, but we're just kind of trying to put things together that we've already learned how to do. Cutting things out, transforming things, using a brush, definitely using opacity a lot, opacity in the layers, opacity in my tool, and I also want to always check these modifiers of whatever tool that I happen to have. So then you can save that as JPEG and you can submit that